Good morning. Looking at section 2.6 today, the coordinate system. If you remember back to chapter 1, we introduced this. We're just going to be building on it, just recalling some of the things we learned and expanding on it a little bit. Our objectives are to be able to graph points on a coordinate plane and to graph algebraic relationships, so graph equations of lines. Key terms, we had these before. We had coordinate plane, two-dimensional area formed by the intersection of the x and y axis. Right? In geometry, you'll learn that a plane is a two-dimensional figure. So we have our x-axis here and our y-axis here. And then we have the four quadrants that we talked about. And the ordered pairs give us a location on the graph starting at the origin, right, 0, 0, and then we move left and right depending on our x values, right? Positive x goes to the right, negative x goes to the left, positive y goes up, negative y goes down. So, real world example of this, right? The Earth uses coordinates. And you can see on here they're marked with negatives going to the left and positives going to the right. But typically when you get a coordinate on a map, it just gives you direction. For example, the origin of the Earth's map would be where the equator, right, the middle here going this way, or x-axis, intercepts the prime meridian, which goes vertically. So if I start at the origin, they would give me directions, right? They would say maybe 30 degrees east and 20 degrees north. Okay, so they give me direction, not necessarily plus and minus. But you can see how that's a real world example of using the coordinate system. So our four quadrants, all right, and we introduced this back in chapter 1. We didn't really answer any questions on it, but we will be answering that today. So if I go into quadrant 1, right, I would have a positive x value and a positive y value. Starting at the origin, to get into quadrant 2, I would have to go left, which would be a negative x value, and up, which is a positive y value. To get into quadrant 3, I would have to go left and down. So left would be negative x and down would be negative y. And then for quadrant 4, I have to go right and down. So right would be positive x, down would be negative y. All right, and there are points that don't land in any of the quadrants, right? For example, if I had the point 2, 0, that's not in quadrant 1 or quadrant 4. It is on the x-axis, so this would not be considered in a quadrant. Same thing here. If I had 0, 2, right, that would be on the y-axis. It's not in either one of those quadrants. So practice plotting points, right? We did this before, but we didn't really describe the location. So if I look at, let me erase that here. The first point, look at the first point, positive 2, positive 4. So if I start at the origin, 2 for x, 4 for y is right here. So if I were to describe that, that'd be right 2 and up 4, and I end up in quadrant 1. Point 2 would be 3 to the right and down 1, if I were to describe the location, right? 3 right, down 1, and that ends up in quadrant 4. Negative 1, 0. So I go left 1 and up 0, right? And that would be my description. And this would be none of the quadrants, right? You might see that written as x axis. because it's on the x-axis. Here we have -4, so left 4, +2 for y. So that'd be left 4, up 2, and that would get me into quadrant 2. Okay, and remember, I'm getting these because these first values are x, and the second value is the y. And lastly here, -3, -3, so that would be 3 to the left and 3 down. Right, so 3 left, 3 down, and that would get me into quadrant 3. Now, just to freshen up on your skills, okay, we're going to go to thatquiz.org. So pause here, right, and go to thatquiz.org. So here's what it looks like. I go to that quiz. Okay, I'm going to go into points. And here you can go identify points or plot points. Like, so here it says 4, 3. So that would be right 4, up 3. Right, and I can do that, and I can see to the right over here, it tells me if I got it right or wrong. I just clicked one and it told me wrong. So if you do get it wrong, so -2 here, 1, 2, 3, 4 would be there, right? So it keeps tabs over here. If I do get one wrong, it does it over there. I can reset it if I need to. You can also work on identify. So this point here is left 2 and down 2. So I know that -2, -2, right? And again, it checks me over here if I'm right or wrong. And then I also want you to work on quadrants. Okay, so here it says which point is in quadrant 2. So that would be, if on my coordinate plane, that would be left and up. So left is -x. So I see these two choices have -x, these don't. So I know I'm over here. And then to get into the top left quadrant, I have to be +y. So I can click there, right? And again, it checks if I'm right or wrong. Quadrant 4 would be right and down. So +x and -y. All right. And then it has some where you say, where is the point? Well, this is right and down. That would get me into quadrant 4. Also talks about origin. Does it land on x-axis or y-axis? So do some practice here with that quiz. All right, and it shows you how to change those there. But pause the video here and work on some practice in that quiz. All right, next up is graphing an algebraic relationship. Okay, it says the sum of two numbers is 5, and create a table and then graph. Okay, so now we want to create this table where my x value and my y value add up to 5. So I'm going to just pick values, two values that add to 5, right? An easy one is if this one's 0 and this one's 5. Okay, so my ordered pair would be 0, 5. Right? If x is 1, y is 4. Right? 1 plus 4 is 5. So my ordered pair would be 1, 4. 2 and 3. Three and 2. Right? We can throw negatives in there too. If I have -1, I would need to add 6 to that in order to make 5. So you can go through and see if you can identify some more. For example, -2 and 7. So if I go plot these here, so I have 0, 5, 1, 4, 2, 3, 3, 2. I would have 4, 1. I know I didn't have that, but I can see this pattern. 5 or 5, 0, 6 and -1, right? If I plot these ones here, I had -1, 6, -2, 7, right? And you could see that we could just keep plotting those. Notice that forms a linear relationship, right, where the two values add to 5. So I just have to pick an x and a y that add to 5, right? I could pick anything. I could pick, all right, if I had x was 20, what would I need to add to that to make it 5? All right, well, I would need to add a -15. So if I were to plot that, that's what it would look like. So any two values that add to 5, that would form this algebraic relationship. And if your graph was expanded big enough, you could plot those points as well. All right, our practice for 2-6. Okay, we're going to do the following problem starting on page 87. All right, you're doing 4 through 12. And then we're switching to 14 to 34 even. And then we have some single problems here to finish up. Again, do those on a separate sheet of paper. And then you'll have your answer key there to check. All right, hope everyone has a great day. We'll talk to you soon.